For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Sashnee. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss Zuma's responsibility and the question of leadership. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
You refer more than once and in previous articles to the ANC leadership and MPs endorsing Zuma's actions. But do they have any option?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because I think some people don't understand that when you're an MP, if you decided to be an MP, you fall under the discipline of whatever party you belong to, and you can't simply act according to your conscience. Now, after Nene was fired and Gordhan was recalled as returned to finance minister, there was a vote of no confidence which the DA brought. And a lot of people were very disappointed with Gordhan because he voted against the motion of no confidence in Zuma. And what they fail to understand is once you are a member of cabinet, the idea of voting in favor of a motion of no confidence of your boss is out of the question. Even if Gordhan is a person who will not do the bidding of the Guptas or some other thing, other than even if in his job he's doing his best to safeguard the public monies of South Africa, he's not free. He's not a person who just walks down the street and takes a decision, will I do this, will I do that? He has to negotiate the conditions of his tenure in the office. If he decides at a certain point that what is being done is completely unacceptable to him, then he has to resign. Or not he has to resign, then he may decide to resign. But I think what I am referring to is that the MPs have got into a situation where they have endorsed things which run against the history of the ANC as an organization representing the poorest of the poor. They have supported Marikana. They have supported the Nkandla thing against the public protector. They voted against the Constitution. They've done a whole lot of things as MPs that constitute a betrayal of the oath of office and the Constitution. Now, in that situation, one has to ask oneself, can I continue fighting from within, should they want to try and change the course of things, or do I simply vote for what I know is wrong, what I know is illegal, what I know is contrary to the interests of the constituency that has elected me? Also, the MPs could say to themselves, I can't go along with this, and I'm not going to be able to change this, therefore I leave Parliament. Or I resign from the NEC, or I resign from the ANC, or I resign from Cabinet, or whatever it happens to be. Now, some of these MPs didn't simply vote. They actually provided rationales for the argument that the Constitutional Court has found to be in contradiction with the oath of office and with the duties of the National Assembly. So they went further than simply voting fodder. They were actually active in providing a rationale or a pseudo-rationale for it. So there are two things. One is, if you are there, you have to negotiate how best you can act according to your conscience in a situation when your own wishes have to be subordinated. Whether you're in the DA, ANC, IFP, whatever it is, you can't do what you want to do. Actually abide by it. But then you have to ask yourself at a certain point, am I subordinating what I believe is right, but also what the organization is expected to do in terms of the Constitution, but also in terms of its connection with the oppressed people of South Africa? The ANC in history has not just been a political organization, it has been a cultural presence in the lives of lots of people. In their homes at night, many people used to pray for the leaders on Robben Island and in exile. The ANC had a presence, even if people were not members. When volunteers went round to collect demands for the Freedom Charter, and they asked people to join the ANC, they said, but we are ANC. They didn't have membership cards, but culturally they were that. And I think what has happened here is that connection, that sense of responsibility and compassion with the poorest of the poor has been ruptured.
You place the question of trust at the center of any attempt to rebuild confidence in our democracy. What does this entail?
Yes, you know, I didn't used to be very interested in leadership because I have a Marxist background, and you always read about the great man theories of history and Marxist views that masses make history. But I've come to understand that leadership is very important. Now, since I didn't know about this from my background, I was watching YouTube, and I looked under leadership, and I heard General Colin Powell, who used to be Reagan's Secretary of State, and he says, the main thing with leadership is trust. You can't be a leader unless the people who you're leading have trust, unless they believe in your judgment, unless they believe in your ethics, unless they believe that what you undertake to do will be carried out. And we can see this in the history of the struggle in South Africa, that it's unthinkable that the main figures of the struggle, Lillian Ngoyi, Albert Luthuli, Walter and Albertina Sisulu, Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, it's unthinkable that they would do something that betrayed a trust that you had in them. Mandela may have made mistakes. He may have been impetuous at times. But he had integrity, and people trusted in what he believed. And the thing with trust is that you can lead without trust, in the sense that you can just go and do things. But there will be a festering sense that what is being done by the leadership is not what the people who gave them a mandate, or didn't even get a chance to give them a mandate, if there's a festering sense that they don't agree with what's happening. And at some point, no matter how many trains run on time or robots are now working, people will have a sense that this leadership doesn't have a connection with me, doesn't belong to me, it's not responsible to me, does not care about what matters for me. And we are seeing a little bit of that, I think, in the recent elections, where the ANC has been punished. Someone quotes me on Twitter, I don't remember saying this exactly, but it must have been when I was in an interview, saying that the ANC punished the electorate before the electorate punished them. In other words, ANC punished the electorate by diverting funds and things like that. And the electorate then got their own back in the elections.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's policy about Zuma's responsibility and the question of leadership.